ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
All right, welcome in to Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday, and there is a lot to react to. East Carolina falls 58-24 at Texas San Antonio over the weekend. Pirates, as a result, fall out of conference title contention and have to regroup going into the road finale, the regular season finale at Florida Atlantic over the weekend. It'll be a 12 noon kickoff, by the way, this Saturday in Boca Raton, Florida, and we'll have coverage for you on 94.3 The Game as well as Hoist the Colors as we get closer to that. But we'll recap today the loss to UTSA, what went wrong. ECU, really for the first time in the Blake Carroll era, just non-competitive, and there's several reasons for that. Part of it is UTSA's dominance in the Dome. This isn't the first time they've done this to an opposing team. We'll get into that. We'll get into the fake kneel down because I want to have that discussion. I mean, really, there's not but so much to break down from an X's and O's perspective. We'll talk about how the game affects ECU going forward and what happened from that perspective a little bit as well. But some storylines coming out of the game we'll get into. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. If you got a question, comment, concern, drop it in the chat, and we'll get to it over the course of the next hour. Philip Pilkington is back behind the glass. He's producing today's program. We'll get his take here in a minute. But overall, just a day to forget. And unfortunately, ECU's potential college football playoff chances that we had discussed, and also the Pirates' championship aspirations for this season are gone. Still some things to play for. Still a chance to have a very good season. I don't know if you can have a great season when you're not in a conference championship discussion going into the last game of the season or making that goal of the conference championship, but still a lot to fight for heading into the final weekend of the regular season. Philip, your thoughts, as we'll read some comments as we always do on this Reaction Monday, but your initial thoughts on what transpired in San Antonio over the weekend.
Yeah, you know it was weird. We talked about it on this show. You and I talked about it off the air, that when you come off a big win like Memphis, you're hoping that you kind of have a tough road ahead. You don't want to play some weak opponent because, what if you don't flip the script 24 hours? What if you enjoy the win a little too long? And I thought, no, they're not going to do that. They know what's at stake. They know how good of a team UTSA is in the Dome. And unfortunately, they came out and looked flat. Do I think they looked as poorly as the scoreboard maybe said at halftime? Maybe not quite. I just think it was one of those things where when the offense would get going, there was some whack penalties that set them back. They struggled when they were behind the chains. Defensively, things weren't great, but still it wasn't, an insurmountable feel like you just didn't belong on the same field. The problem was it got insurmountable on the scoreboard very quickly, and then there's just not much you can do from there on out, especially in a place like that where it's tough to come back and win football games. And it stinks. It stinks we're not sitting here talking about a chance at a conference championship, chance at a college football playoff, but also considering we only got 3 shows this week, I guess if it was going to happen, maybe the timing's not terrible, but, it's just, I don't know. I was kind of dumbfounded, honestly, at halftime and kind of just, I wouldn't say quit caring, but it kind of got to the point at halftime where it was just like, damn, can we just sleepwalk through this second half and move on to FAU?
It was just a snowball effect. I mean, it really was. And watching it, look, okay, here's the thing that I pointed to this after the game. I don't think it was a case where, ECU was not ready to play because I was there. I was on the field, pregame, warm-ups, all that, taking pictures in the first half, which, by the way, maybe I need to quit taking pictures because every time I'm on the field, the team plays absolutely awful. First half at Tulane, I was on the field. Trying to think first half at UTSA, I was on the field.
The entirety of the Charlotte game last year?
The entirety of the Charlotte game last year. So maybe we're finding it's not the Dome, it's me that we're figuring that out. But either way, the guys, they had juice. There was a lot of juice, a lot of intensity in the pregame. They were ready to go. Now, does that mean you're going to go out and play well? No. I'm just saying, they weren't sleepwalking. And I know that's a common take to have. So for me, it's like, all right, showing up ready to play on game day, that was not a problem. They just got beat. They got their brains, kicked in and all that. But, so I go back, all right, how much of this was preparation? Where did it go wrong from a preparation standpoint during the week? And then, if you miss a detail on Monday because you're too wrapped up in the Memphis game, the hype of that, and that bleeds into Tuesday and Wednesday, that's when you get beat. So it's hard for me to say that. We're not allowed a ton of practice. We get Mondays right now, Monday mornings, and it's more of a light day, so we're not out there as much as usual. And so I don't know. From everybody to talk to, they felt like they practiced pretty much normal. But it's human nature after a win like that to maybe not press as harder, maybe not prepared quite the same way because you're resting on your laurels a little bit. So I think maybe if anything, I'm just speculating here because I don't have the fact. We're just trying to figure out what went wrong. But maybe the bleed over from the big Memphis win led to a dip in preparation, leading to UTSA obviously playing its best game of the year in coincidence or in correlation with ECU playing its worst, and you get the result you got. So just trying to figure out how this happened. We will never really diagnose it fully because sports are weird, humans are weird. It's hard to always pinpoint the exact thing that led to this, but obviously the dome magic, which we can get into that a little bit. It took everything in my power, by the way, not to just go back and forth with UTSA fans on Saturday night and Sunday, but that's a whole different conversation. But I don't know, Philip, there's got to be something to the Memphis had a lingering effect, at least somewhat, and then, that's not the reason ECU lost, I don't think, but maybe had, something to learn from, I wrote after the game. Blake Harrell, we still got to remember, this is his first time as a head coach coming off a win that big. I'm not putting it all on Blake, but even he said maybe there's something he could have done differently leading into the game to make sure this didn't happen.
You know what's weird about it? You come off back-to-back games leading in where there are distractions. Homecoming followed by senior night. And when you have both of those back-to-back weeks, then you go on the road. That's where you're feeling like, hey, we're in a normal environment. It's only us. Our parents aren't here. There is no homecoming. There is no former players coming to talk to us. We're just back to playing ball. And that was all the more reason that I felt like there was some decent confidence going into this thing. And actually, I meant to ask Blake about it last week, but his press conference was so long. Just hey, is it going to be nice to have some normalcy, some normal just road football game? You fly down, you play the game, you fly back. And so that was kind of the weird spot that they never seemed to stumble with all the distractions that came in the previous 2 weeks. And maybe that's part of the reason they were so feeling good about themselves. Hey, we got through the tough games. We got through the distractions. We're back to normal. We don't have to prepare. I'm not saying they didn't, but, I don't know. Hypothetical situation. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point for sure. And I also thought, when ECU took the ball first, I was like, they really need to score here. I just felt like if you got behind in a game like this, I knew that UTSA was going to throw an early punch. And it was like ECU either needed to land the first punch or answer right back. I still think there was a holding call. I think it was Mangrum Hauser was trying to hit. Wasn't called. ECU punts it. They hit the trick play, go down and score. Then ECU comes back. What do? Go 3 and out, I'm pretty sure, and punt it back. You also got that penalty right on the first punt. You have them backed up at their own 15. You get a personal foul penalty that gives the ball to 30. Little things like that matter. Giving the team inside their own 20 versus at the 30 with momentum, it's just every little detail went against ECU. And I'm not going to get into the blame the officials, but once again, it just felt like every call went against ECU. The targeting call, that was a huge play. 7-0, 3rd and 10, over the middle. Guy catches it. Kamari McKinley hits him in the midsection. And with his shoulder, gets called for the targeting and ejected. That was a huge play. They go on to score as a result of that. I didn't get a replay of that in the stadium, but I thought watching it live, he hit him with the shoulder and the chest. Did you get a shot of replay, Philip?
Yeah, I did. Kind of. It was one of those things where, too, I'm watching on such a play delay, I think I was already getting – and they did go to a commercial break during it, too, so they only showed it once or twice. I would probably need to look at it again to give you a full – what I think educatedly. But, a penalty I want to go back to, and not that I'm trying to blame one guy or one situation, but, You're down 14-0. You run the quick hurry. You get a couple first downs. You run the quick hurry up offense to 3rd and 1. Traylor realizes they're lingering, and he calls timeout. And then it's 3rd and 1, and you commit the false start, and you go back to 3rd and 6. You get 3 yards on 3rd down, and it becomes 4th and 3, and then you go for it on 4th and don't convert.
By the way, they snapped the ball on the initial 4th down and threw a completed pass, and then that ball was snapped before they called timeout, or at least before the whistle blew.
Before the whistle blew, I did see it was one of those where they did show a replay that Traylor was signaling timeout. The guy went to go blow the whistle. I mean, he was starting to move his hand.
Yeah.
They usually give the benefit of the doubt to the coach of that in a lot of situations, probably more than they should, but at least they're pretty consistent with that. But that false start right there, followed by that drive stalling out, that's kind of when I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, it's one thing to get down 14-0, you don't feel good about it, you're concerned and all that, but it's like, hey, this is your chance. Even if you make it 14-3 right here, you're showing some fight. This team's came from back, from down before, not really worried about it. And when that happened, it was like, yep, this game's over.
All right, some comments here. Lane Smith, tough weekend for Lane. What an absolutely awful weekend for the Pirates and the Eagles. Yeah, Eagles blew a 21-0 lead, and that was bad. JGH says, I told you it would be like Temple. We were just on the wrong side this time. Kenny Curlin says, I can't believe I tuned in on Saturday for some exciting Pirate football and a Pirate basketball game broke out. Wow, that was as bad as Charlotte last year. Widespread Pirate says this was a John Thompson era loss. Lots of comments about Jeff Traylor being a jerk. So I didn't hear any of this on the broadcast either, and I guess, Philip, you were monitoring the radio. But I was told they kept showing the picture of the UTSA helmet being off, and I guess Jeff Traylor was using that as motivation for his team. Well, okay, first off, let me say this. Credit UTSA, they whooped the crap out of ECU. Credit Jeff Traylor for using this mastermind of a theory to motivate his team. Like, that's what the head coach's job is to do, find a way to motivate your team. It worked. But the guy's helmet was knocked off in a legal football play. Put your chin strap on tighter. Like, to get mad about that, I mean, that's stupid to me. But look, credit Jeff Traylor for using it to motivate his team. But I guess they took exception to ECU making fun of his helmet being knocked off. That seems to be a little bit of a reach, but I guess it worked. I don't know.
The weird thing about that situation, dude, back in the day, nobody's helmet used to pop off, and now these guys wear them so dang loose, especially with, the fact that they don't always snap now, they just loosen. And, yeah, I'm with you. If you get your helmet ripped off, you get your helmet ripped off, but when it just pops off because you're, too much of a wimp to wear it tight and, have a little chafing on your chin there from a tight chin strap, come on, man, it's a man's game. I don't understand why they use that as motivation, but hell, if it worked, I guess. I mean, who are we to tell a guy who won a football game that his motivations were wrong? I mean, it's not like he did anything immoral in his motivations.
And Owen McCown said after the game, because they have the UTSA press conference playing very loudly as I was trying to write post-game after the ECU press conference. Owen McCown said last year, ECU, quote, physically dominated us. And basically they wanted to do something about it. So I respect it. Jeff Traylor also had a comment post-game. They were like, what led to the extra motivation? He was like, we'll keep that internal. But he went on to say that, and I guess it wasn't really kept internal if the broadcast kept repeating it. But either way, that's what he said after the game. And then they also said that ECU is the most physical team in the conference. And Jeff Traylor said he challenged his team to match or surpass that physicality. So their game plan worked. Credit to UTSA. Although if the game was played outside of the Alamo Dome, it probably would not have worked, because UTSA is incredible at home and subpar on the road. But ECU got it at home, and they got their brains beat in. Let's get a break in. We'll come back. We got several more comments to get to. I want to get into the fake knee just because I think it's an interesting discussion. Again, none of this is going to change the outcome of the game. UTSA beat the crap out of ECU. I just want to make that clear. But I still want to discuss faking a knee and why I think it's a little Bush League given the ramifications that could happen. But we'll get into that. We'll get into other comments as well. This is Hoist the Colors on a Monday.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed, meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arg!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wade, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Every ECU fan's one stop for all things ECU athletics. This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in to Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday. Philip Pilkington behind the glass. We're breaking down ECU's 58-24 loss. By the way, the most points ECU's allowed in a football game since SMU in 2019. They lost that game 59-51. That was Mike Houston's first year. Can you name the defensive coordinator that year, Philip?
Ooh, it's whoever pre-Blake.
Yep.
I do not remember.
Bob Trott. The great Bob Trott, who I see at Harris Teeter every now and then, just to say what's up. And good guy, I guess. I know at the time he was pulling against ECU after getting fired, but that's a whole other story. UTSA wins at 58-24. And just a kind of a day to forget. So we're talking about the game. We're reading your comments and much more. So somebody's commented, I think this was our first game. Our corners truly got exposed for lack of ability to play press man coverage. We also had a comment from Johnny Stats about, can't seem to find it, but essentially a lot of Owen McCown's passes were short that led to some long passes. Yeah, 20 of McCown's 24 completions were 5 yards or less. 13 of them were 0 yards or behind the line of scrimmage. UTSA had 51 total air yards with 197 yards after completion. When blitz, McCown was 9 of 12 for 107 yards and 3 touchdowns. So a couple things here. We talked about going into the game this is what UTSA does. They throw screens. They use the short game. They don't throw deep a lot. We also talked that Owen McCown was bad against the blitz. A lot of his turnovers against the blitz this season, but also with UTSA's screen game, you had to pick your spots. If you got caught in the wrong call, you were going to get burnt. And essentially what we saw is that exact thing happened. I don't even think this is much on the cornerbacks. Like, the screen game is more on the linebackers being in position, the safeties being in position, getting off blocks, making tackles. And there was a series or two where Tegan Wilk was out. Aiden Duncanton, who I think is going to be a very good player in time as he gets more experience, he was caught out of position on a screen. And so I don't put it as much on the corners as just almost the entirety of the defense, Phillip.
It really looked like a Bill Walsh coached offense out there. You know, Montana could throw the ball down the field, but in games he didn't have to. He didn't. There's a reason Roger Craig was the first player to ever go 1,000 because of all those screens, and that's what that looked like. And when you play teams like that, you've got to be physical with the blockers who are going to hit you in the open space, and you've got to tackle well in the open field. And we talked about on the show, Joe and I talked about on the pregame show, that he's going to get the ball out quick. You know, he can go through his progressions fine, but what he's really good at, especially when you blitz him, why he was 9-12, he throws the ball to where the blitzer came from, and he trusts his athletes, and they do have some athletes, to go out there and make plays after the catch. And that's what they did. And, you know, they never really had to throw the ball down the field. I think he does have the ability to, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And when you're winning the football game, why are you going to start taking shots down the field? Those are low percentage plays. And I just didn't think we tackled well. I didn't think that we fought off blocks well. And look, they were just the more physical team and the better team in space. And that's the weird thing about the screen game and the short pass game, right? You have to be physical and good in space. You know, normally, you know, if it's between the tackles, you think of physicality. Good, you know, outside, you think of athleticism. But when it's a screen game, it's a combination of both, and it exposes you if you're not good at both.
There was one play early in the game that a corner got beat on. I think at the touchdown, they ran crossing routes and basically had a pick play, but you know, it wasn't malicious. I guess it could have been called, but it was more so like the routes just ran right by each other, and I think Lowry got tripped up, led to the wide open guy for the first touchdown. So good play design there. That was a long developing play. ECU got zero pressure on. So it was a combination. They weren't winning with 3-4-man rush like I thought they could. They were getting beat with the quick game, with the screen game. Guys weren't getting off blocks. And here's the other thing, man. I always say this. ECU on turf just does not look comfortable. Even in pregame warmups, the receivers were slipping, getting out of their breaks. Like, I don't know what it is about turf, and they have a very spongy turf there. ECU looked like they had the wrong cleats. I could hear some players even talking about this turf, like how do we, you know, get the right shoes on. So whereas UTSA, every cut they made, they look quicker. They look more natural. And look, I think they practice outside, but obviously they know what turf they play on, and so they have the appropriate cleats. So I just always say ECU typically on turf settings, especially this one, looks slower than the opponent. We know ECU as a team is pretty fast, but did they not look dramatically slower than UTSA on Saturday? And UTSA has some speed, but
yeah,
I thought that they just really struggled to getting off, you know, making cuts.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, too, when you do slip in pregame, you're worried about slipping live ball, and the last thing you want to do is slip and then, you know, just have a guy wide open or you know, miss a tackle. So then you get a little passive, a little conservative, and then it just causes you to play slower. You know, it's interesting you mentioned the spongy turf. That's, you know, not all turf's the same. You know, it's kind of gotten generally the same nowadays, but some is closer to grass, and then some, like you said, when it's a little softer like that, it's really weird, and it's almost like playing on it's not like the hardness, obviously, of playing on the old school AstroTurf, but it is the slickness of playing on the old school AstroTurf because it's not grass feeling. And remember how they invented turf shoes back in the day? You think back to the old Cowboys Stadium. You think back to, obviously, the Astrodome. You think back to where the Rams played when they were in St. Louis, and how those teams always benefited so much at home because you played on that really weird surface. And it's almost like, for anybody who's ever played field hockey, it's kind of like a field hockey surface, and it's just odd, and I don't know, man, it's not normal, and you're not making rounded cuts in football. You're making 90-degree angles or sharper, and it makes it really tough when you're not used to it.
there's just and when you're playing on natural grass, like UTSA came here last year, I thought they looked uncomfortable playing on grass. Like they looked slow. And this year they looked fast. So like I just think obviously that's part of home field advantage and something that they're used to playing on. I'm not saying it's the reason again ECU lost, but it's I think a reason UTSA looked quicker. And I do want to say their running back, Will Henderson, that dude is going to be a problem. He reminds me a lot of Keaton Mitchell, and he looks like him out there.
He's their 1B, right? Because their 1A was hurt.
And I think this guy's, obviously Robert Henry's a heck of a running back, but I think this guy's more dynamic. Scares you every time he touches the ball. So good find there. And, tackling as a result was bad. As Timmy P points out, we had bad tackling just like last time we were there. Wasn't sure if that was due to poor footing too. So
very well could be.
There's your turf synopsis. All right. Justice says, are we starting to believe that UTSA is rigging home games? Either UTSA is the best team in human history at home and awful on the road, or they have a little trick up their sleeve. All right, so first off, I said after the game on my post-game video on Hoist the Colors, I said, I don't think UTSA is cheating, but the splits and it's so dramatic that you have to almost consider it. Because let's be real, man. Look at what they're doing at home versus on the road. Like everybody's talking about it. Every team that goes plays there and gets their brains beat in. And maybe it's just become such a mental advantage that plays a role. But I'm not saying they're cheating, but I'm just saying the numbers would suggest something's going on. I mean, if you're the American, do you look into it?
You're wearing blue and orange and you're playing the state of Texas in a dome. Hey, man, the only other team that meets that criteria is the Houston Astros,
we know
right?
They were cheating.
So, I think it does come to the mental game, Steven. Look, it's a little weird, but this has happened before. I do want to remind people there was a season where the New Orleans Saints were 8-0 at home and 0-8 on the road, obviously finishing the season at 8-8. So it happens, and I think maybe it was one of those things where, when they first, we talk about this home winning streak. Well, during the CUSA days, they were contending for a conference title. The splits were not as drastically different. Then when they come to the American, where they're playing more similar competition, because they were one of the better teams in CUSA, there's kind of that, who's going to go in and be the first team in a long time to beat them at home? And then it kind of does, I think, become the mental thing. The Memphis win last year, you think of the Tulane win the other day, or a couple weeks ago, obviously beating East Carolina this past weekend. I think it is starting to become the mental thing. And, it's now coming up more drastic in the splits because they have been so subpar on the road the last 2 years. But remember the first year in the conference, they were not subpar on the road. They were a darn good football team. We were worried about them coming into Dowdy last year. I think we were all on UTSA going into the season. So, this is not a bad football team. Jeff Traylor's a good football coach. They've had good quarterbacks the whole time, whether it be Frank Harris or now McCown. So it's a little weird this year because it's so drastic, but I think at this point this year, again, it's gotten to the point where the mind's a powerful thing, and teams are going in maybe a little intimidated, or not intimidated as much as just confused and kind of on their heels.
Yeah, 25-0 just makes you scratch your head, but they've got it going on. Timmy P says they worship the triangle of toughness, and Traylor sold his soul to never lose at home. That's a comment from Timmy P. Yeah, they talk about the 210, I believe, San Antonio area code, and they get behind it, man. I give them credit, and my thing is being there. First off, the attendance was, I think, 18,000. There was probably 15,000 people there, and anytime you're in a dome, obviously the noise is trapped, so it would be loud even if 15K were there. But they crank up the music, and I don't know what exactly is allowed as far as what you're allowed to play, but they have this thumping noise, boom, 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 that just goes until the ball is snapped, basically. And I'm again not saying this is why ECU lost, but they just crank up the music as loud as possible, and they play it up until basically the snap. And it sounds like they're pumping in crowd noise, but I'm not gonna say 100% they are, but they use it to their advantage, and until somebody beats them there, I guess they can just keep on doing it and talk about how tough it is to win there. So,
hey, our band plays pretty late.
Our band, I love our band, but they're not as loud as they need to be.
True. Also, my sister brought it up when she was here a couple weeks ago. She was like, "Why are they playing so close up to the snap when we're on offense?"
Yeah,
that does get a little annoying. But still, like, but the sound, you got to think where our band is, man. It's in the sound with the side that's fully closed, and then it's going into the Murphy Center side, which is more open, so it allows the sound to kind of escape the stadium too. So, I mean, everybody's going to have that weird home field advantage, but you do kind of wonder, are they playing the music too late? There is certain rules.
Look, they got it. Whatever they're doing, they got it going on, and I do think their band is good, by the way, and they've got a big band, so I was impressed by that. But I don't know. The other thing, that they haven't lost in the black jerseys. They were talking about that post game as well, and Jeff Traylor's just like, I've never seen anything like it. So it's like the combination of the black unis plus playing at home. They feel, I think it's almost on their end, they feel more unbeatable than anything. So I don't know.
They must. Also, why does a team with whose primary color is navy have black jerseys? Isn't it Blavey like a cardinal sin in fashion?
It is. But when you don't lose in the black jerseys, you just keep wearing them.
It's true. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, baby.
UTSA, 25 straight conference home games won. Let's get a break in. Pirates still trying to regroup. We'll take a look at how they can bounce back. We'll also get into the fake knee as well. And if you got other comments, we'll try and read those too. This is Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Hoist the sail!
Climb aboard as we set sail and hoist the colors.
Ahoy, me hearties!
Back to Steve and Igo on 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Hoist the Colors on a Reaction Monday. Some questions about will the loss to UTSA affect the quality of bowl we get? It could. I mean, it could. There's a pecking order in the American and in the bowl system, and essentially the bowls are slotted in terms of what they want to pick in terms of the teams they want to pick. And obviously they're going to want a higher record team in more cases than not for a more attractive bowl matchup. So it's possible. I still think ECU with a win at FAU is a very good bowl destination, or a very good draw, I should say, for a bowl. What I'm hearing is that if the SEC does not fill all of its bowl slots, you could see the Liberty Bowl take an American team, and they would go to the top of the pecking order if it happens, and they would get first pick, and who they pick could change who the Military Bowl picks at second. And so, like, you have a trickle-down effect, and obviously if ECU is further down the standings or has 7 wins versus 8 or 9, obviously the Pirates have the fan base they can bring, but you're also going to want a more attractive bowl TV matchups in terms of record and all that good stuff. So there's still a lot of play to answer your question, and that's why ECU needs a win this weekend to sure up they get a solid bowl over. We'll get more into the bowls later this week, but there's a chance if you lose, I think you're going to probably a worse bowl. So we'll get more into that. All right, the fake knee right before half. A lot of discussion about it. Credit Blake Carroll, who said 100% it was on ECU. They've got to be prepared for it. I respect that a lot from a coach who says his team has to be prepared for any situation. Now, for me, as a fan of the game, when you line up in the victory formation or just for a kneel-down formation, it's kind of like an understood thing that, hey, we're not going to go 100% of your guys. You're not going to come 100% of our guys. Because if that happens, somebody could get hurt. So to line up in a fake knee formation and run a play out of it, I think it's completely Bush League. I think you're asking for injuries because next time you do it, next time you line up in victory, now that you put that on film, and apparently UTSA, I guess, had put that on film already, according to Blake, so that again goes back to ECU needs to be prepared for it. But I still think it's complete Bush League. Like, if you're going to line up in the formation, just take a knee. If you want to run a play, line up in a football formation and run a play. Like, I just think, to me, you're asking for your guys to get hurt and for your quarterback to get his head taken off. Thoughts?
Yeah, the tough thing about it is this, how many times do we see the defensive line try hard on a knee at the end of the game and the offensive line comes up ticked off and the fans are saying, hey, that's classless, like the game's over. So, and I agree with it. So kind of building off your point, well, if it's not supposed to be a legit play, why are you doing it? Here's my thing. I don't think the fake knee is 100% wrong all the time. Say you're down 3 points, you're on the road, you're a dog, like you're a group of 5 team playing at a Power 5 team, and you need something to change the momentum. You almost kind of have to cheat to win kind of thing, running in that situation. When you're up 34-3 or 31-3 or whatever it was at home, like, I don't know, what are you doing? Because then again, like you said, it's supposed to be a play where the defensive line is told, okay, get in your 3-point stance, be there, but you don't really have to do anything. Because, and again, if they fire off the ball and then McCown really takes a knee, then UTSA is going to be all ticked off that we fired off football, right? So, I mean, again, like you said, you're up by 20-some points. What are you doing?
I mean, to me, it was just a giant slap in the face. And again, you can say ECU needs to be prepared for it, and that's completely fine. But, and I guess if you're ECU, also don't kick the ball out of bounds to give them the ball at the 35. Like, if they're at their 20, 25, maybe they're not running this. But I don't know, man. I'm just not a huge fan of it. As Jake Pollard points out, I don't mind it as long as Traylor doesn't mind his quarterback getting tackled next time he needs it. I mean, that's to me, like, next week if they're beating Army and they line up in the knee at any point in the game, after seeing that on film, I'm coming off the ball 100% trying to knock somebody's head off. Like, I mean, that's the message you're sending to your future opponents. So, not a fan of it. I guess credit to them for executing it, and ECU has to get better at defending it, but just not a fan of it. Widespread Pirate says, just like they weren't prepared for the quick snap, we got a touchdown on. For that, we only got a penalty for. Should have been a free play. I guess he's talking about was that the one where they were like, their whole team was offsides.
Yeah, there's like 4 dudes offsides.
And they just blew the play dead.
So here's the frustrating thing about that. So they did use the term unimpeded to the quarterback, which is supposed to be a dead ball foul. Once you've crossed over and pretty much you've got a kill shot on the quarterback, it's a player safety issue. The thing is, though, that's usually when you jump off sides and you jump so
They were
far
just
past
jogging
your
off the
like
field.
head and shoulders past the lineman, so you just go ahead and kill it. And when you call unimpeded at the quarterback, it is a dead ball penalty, not a simultaneous to the snap penalty. You go ahead and blow the whistle, throw the flag, the snap never happens. When you call offsides at the second the ball snapped, you then can't go back and say, oh, well, they were unimpeded to the quarterback. No, you got to call that then. And the guys were clearly trying to get off the field. We're getting them back on. It's not like they were going to take a kill shot at Kate Nauser. You know, that's one of those. It's like if you're an official, I guess they're trying to use their head. You are trying to protect guys, but it's already a blowout. The team who's winning or losing has the ball. So the team who's on defense is not going to have like this frustration, hey, we're going to kill this dude. We're already up by 40. They get the free play, you give them the free play. It's one of those, it's not officiating 101, it's officiating 301, 401. And, you know, it's American Conference officiating. I mean,
This is what we expect.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing how hard it is for young officials who are good to move up. And it's mostly because, and I was talking about this with somebody, I can't remember who it was on Saturday. If you're a crappy official, you don't get promoted. The problem is you never get demoted. And that's where half these officials and the white hat from this game, because my buddy was texting me saying this guy's been in the conference since the day it started.
And every time he calls a game, it's awful.
Yeah, it's awful. So, like, they don't demote guys, and therefore it's hard for younger, good officials to move up because those places are just slotted in. It's frustrating and it's stupid. And if you're an official, you got to, you know, in the words of Coach Dugan, use your head, and in case you're wondering, it's the lump 3 feet above your ass.
They and again, it's not ECU did not lose because of the officials, but I'm just amazed at the incompetence every week that the American officials put on the field. College football has an officiating problem, but like the number of just like missed blatant holds at times just boggles my mind. Like guys in the backfield, everybody can see them. Free rush the quarterback, offensive tackle grabs him from behind and jerks him backwards, and like we're not calling that. That's happened like 5 times in the past 2 games. It has not been called. I don't know what they're looking at.
I think the problem is they're watching the ball too much.
Maybe. I mean,
they used to not miss holding calls on the line the way they do, and now that we've got all these dumb rules that overprotect the quarterback and treat the quarterback like he's an 80-year-old grandma who's going to break a hip if he gets touched, I think they're so busy watching the quarterback they're not watching the lineman.
Something's being missed because it's just, I don't know, man. This is the stuff we complain about when ECU either wins big or loses big because there's really not that much to talk about from the game. And so we're talking about officiating, pumping in crowd noise. I do like that we're kind of getting a bit of a rivalry with ECU UTSA. The problem is, of course, these two teams don't play each other next year. But Timmy points out everything about UTSA is small-time Bush League, pumping in crowd noise, parking lot, baseball field, high school basketball gym. I will say they did honor the UTSA baseball team and gave them their championship rings at halftime of the game. So I thought that was funny. The other thing, though, UTSA did lose to ECU basketball 3 times in the span of 1 month last year. So if you want to talk smack, that's a pretty good starting point if you're an ECU fan. Like, you guys lost to ECU basketball 3 times in 1 month. I mean, it doesn't get much lower than that. So I don't know.
Look, Stephen, we say we need rivals. Nobody wants it to be Charlotte because they're so much less than us. What's wrong with it becoming UTSA? If you get some instances like that, first off, their softball coach is kind of a jerk too. Not that anybody really cares that much, but like the point is too, like they were the team. You got to remember they were ranked the year before they joined the conference in baseball. They have what it takes to be a good baseball team. They won the conference championship last year, so I think it could become a rivalry there. And I think if it becomes a rivalry in football, we could embrace it almost the way we did Southern Miss. I mean, you're not geographically close to Hattiesburg, Mississippi, but you become a rival just kind of by default because of things that happen. So sure, why not we become a rival with UTSA? I mean, look, they'll put money into their program, maybe not to the level that we're doing, but they have an okay fan base, especially for this place. And I guess, they can brag they've hosted Final Fours, and we can brag that we've hosted regionals in baseball.
I'll credit the UTSA fans. They have engaged on social media since the loss. Now, they're all mad that I basically said they need to be investigated just because of the home and road splits, which I kind of said in jest, but they can't take sarcasm over there. Either way, one of those things where like they're actually responding on social media. They have a presence. They've got a good home field advantage for a multitude of reasons. So I'm all for it, and I can see it now, Philip. Next year, you look at the American losing some big coaches. I think Jeff Traylor will be back at UTSA. I think Blake Harrell will be back at ECU. They don't play in the regular season, but you know when they're going to play? In the conference championship.
Friday night in Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium,
happen.
first Friday of December.
They can talk all the smack they want, and I guess the thing that will determine the game is whether or not it's home or away. Because we know the Pirates probably can't win in the Alamo Dome.
But that'd be awesome, though, first conference loss, and it doesn't even technically count as a conference game because it's a championship. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Let's make it happen. We'll talk to the conference. We'll see if we can get some of that officiating on ECU and UTSA side next year to set up what would be a pretty entertaining conference championship game. Long way to go before that happens, of course. We'll get our final break in now. When we come back, we'll talk about the week ahead a little bit, a few programming notes with it being Thanksgiving week. We'll also look ahead to FAU, which may have the best passing attack ECU has faced all season long. We'll get into that. This is Hoist the Colors.
Hurry to Greenville Toyota for model year-end savings on a Camry. Just $229 a month. $229 a month. Or new RAV4, $279 a month. $279 a month. Only during our model year-end move-out. Right now at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville, we've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's cut in color. And let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
It's Greenville Toyota's model year-end move-out. Save on a new Corolla, just $149 a month. $149 a month. Or new Tacoma, $249 a month. $249 a month. Now get a move on and save at Greenville Toyota.
Like all pirates, Stephen Igo is loyal and bold. He may also have a touch of scurvy. Back to Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back in. Final segment here. If you got any final comments, thoughts, get in the chat. We got about 5 minutes left. ECU at FAU this weekend. For me, these Thanksgiving games are always tricky. It doesn't matter what the records are, how good the teams are. It's all about motivation. I've covered enough of these games. They're just weird, man. Like, very few fans. I would almost rather be playing this game on the road, which ECU is. They're at FAU in Boca Raton. just because you know you're not going to get a lot of juice. But what's the motivation level? All right, on FAU side, if you look over the last 5 games, FAU is playing some pretty dang good football. The problem is they were officially eliminated from bowl participation with a pretty heartbreaking 48-45 loss to a now 9-win UConn team in Boca this past Saturday. But they did have over 600 yards of offense. Caden Veldkamp, their quarterback, one of the best in the league, threw for, I think, well over 400 yards. The week before that, they outgained Tulane, outplayed them on a per-down basis, but turnovers killed them in a 35-24 loss in New Orleans. They beat Tulsa, which just beat Army, by the way, by 19 on November 8th. So Florida Atlantic won that game 40-21. And then they kind of hung with Navy on the road, 42-32. So their last 4 games, they're playing great football, especially offensively. Zach Kitley, former Texas Tech offensive coordinator, has this thing rolling offensively. They've got 3 receivers who had over 100 yards in the contest against UConn. But they're 4-7, and I was listening to their press conference after the game. I'm not going to say like they sounded like they won against UConn, but some pats on the back for good effort, that sort of thing. Coming up short of a bowl game. There was even a question, could they make a bowl as a 5-win team? Which obviously they'd have to beat ECU to do that. That's more based off APR. ECU, meanwhile, conference championship aspirations, those were dashed. Now you've got to turn the page. The talk is, hey, ECU hasn't had an 8-win regular season since 2014, so we're shooting for that. Obviously, if you win, you get a potentially more attractive bowl game as well. So Philip Pilgrim back behind the glass. Motivation for me, big key this week. You got the distraction of Thanksgiving. Just the reality is also you have the distraction of the transfer portal. I know it's not technically open until early January, but I promise you those conversations are going on behind the scenes with agents, locker room talk, et cetera. So this is a heavy distraction time of year, and whichever coaching staff can get their guys focused, ready to go most, I think wins this game.
I agree. And, one of the motivations, I think, for East Carolina, and Blake addressed it in his press conference today, is they haven't lost back-to-back games all year. This is a team who's responded really well. And I don't think it's maybe in the back of their mind, hey, this would be the first time we've lost back-to-back games. But clearly they've been able to use the motivation of, hey, we played bad last week. Let's go out there and not let this happen 2 days or 2 weeks in a row. This is a locker room who cares. This is a locker room who, really enjoys being together. They do have a brotherhood. We hear it from Mike Wright, comparing it to places he's been. We've heard it from some players who have transferred in from other places, maybe even some guys who left and came back. Just how special this place is and how much everybody wants to win. So I think a lot of that fighting for the guy next to you is instilled by Blake. It's instilled by this staff, and it's the type of young men that they recruit to come be a part of this program. And I think they know it's their last chance as kind of one, collective group, because some guys will probably, unofficially be in the portal at that time to go out there and win a football game together. They're very tight-knit. They're going to enjoy these 3 days where they have no class. All they got is football. And I think they're going to be ready to play. With that being said, FAU knows they can kind of end on a high note. It's their last football game of the season. Like you said, they've been scoring well. And anytime you play one of those teams that's been scoring well, they're dangerous, but they're also they can shoot themselves in the foot because, like you said, they rely so much on the big play, so much on pushing the football down the field that causes turnovers, and also they're not great defensively. So if you get down, you feel like it is a game you can come back in.
Caden Veldkamp, high passing yards total, also has thrown interceptions at times in bunches this year. We'll get more into that matchup tomorrow and Wednesday when we talk to Robbie LaStella from who covers FAU. But, yeah, on the season has thrown 15 picks, also 24 touchdowns, and 3,465 yards. So they sling it around. ECU, a 6.5-point favorite right now as we sit here on Monday at 12:53 p.m. Eastern. The total at 67.5. Philip, do either of those numbers interest you?
What did you say the spread was? Sorry, I was posting the Jamali Riddle video.
6.5 ECU.
6.5 ECU, over 67.5. That over-under stuff, anytime you get an over-under like that, I kind of like to stay away from it. 6.5 ECU, yeah, I think that East Carolina can win this by a full possession, maybe by 10 points. But, we kind of mentioned it in one of our commenters mentioned it early in the show. It's kind of the first game the defensive backs got exposed, and they're going to see that on film. They're going to try and do a lot of the things that UTSA did. Now, of course, they're a different style than UTSA. They do push the ball down the field a little more, but this young man, he's got a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of confidence in his number one target, so our defense is going to have to step it up, and we're going to have to see the Jordy Lowry and Tamir Brown that we saw early this month.
Early weather look at Saturday in Boca, 2 days after Thanksgiving. 77 degrees, a high, and 68 low, 40% chance of light rain. So should be a pretty good weather day as long as the rain doesn't come in too much force on Saturday. All right, this week, obviously, Thanksgiving week, we will have a abbreviated show tomorrow, 12 noon to 12:30, because we have the ECU Michigan State game and the Fort Myers tip-off happening at 1 o'clock, and so we'll take you into the pregame show, 12 noon to 12:30. Darren Vaught will have it from there, leading you into tip-off against number 17 Michigan State, between the Pirates and Spartans. And then Wednesday we will have a full show, and that will be our last show of the week. So we'll make our game picks. We'll also preview the FAU game, and we'll take Thursday, Friday off for Thanksgiving. So just want to give you guys a heads up on that. So, again, you got questions, comments, get them in the first 30 minutes of tomorrow's show. But for today, we are out of time. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Plenty of comments, plenty of thoughts. I don't think we got to everything, but I think we covered most of the big topics. And I hope everybody has a fantastic week with family and friends, and giving thanks to everything that we're so thankful to have. We'll be back tomorrow, 12 noon. We'll dive more into the FAU game, maybe also dive a little bit deeper into the bowl picture as well. We'll see you then on Hoist the Colors.